הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Congregation Orami, especially if it's your first time here ever or just in a long while. So we're very glad to have you tonight for our Shabbat service. We begin our service together with a proclamation near the bottom of page 1. Please join me in reading in English. Tonight we gather together to bring out the best, both in ourselves and in the larger world. No matter how challenging or discouraging various aspects of life may seem, we actively remember and now proclaim together that this world still has much loveliness, many beautiful and splendid things: blue waves whitened on a cliff, soaring fire that sways and sings, and children's sweet faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup, overflowing with awe for the infinite surprises yet to be discovered in this vast and magnificent world. So speaking of children looking up with wonder and awe, we're going to invite our guest of honor tonight up with her whole family, Lucy Lacker, for her naming ceremony. Every child comes into the world with a message, for with every child comes the hope for new possibilities. Every child brings fresh energy into the world for greater fulfillment and purpose to all the lives that surround her. Each new soul is a testimony to our conviction that we still believe that life is good, that life is worthwhile. The hope is here. That hope is our celebration as we give that hope a new name. As we celebrate the naming of Lucia, whose name means light, we are celebrating the light that her existence has added to our world.
Light was the first of God's creations. As light appeared, it brought with it the potential for wondrous things to follow. We too kindle lights of hope, of understanding, of celebration, of countless new possibilities. This little daughter with whom we have been blessed has already brought light into our lives.
You find the world new today, Lucia. We light these candles of the covenant, praying that you will remain open to surprises and continue to delight in them. Today, the world's glory fills your every look with wonder. May your eyes forever marvel at life's everyday miracles.
May God's radiance continue to shine upon us. May our daughter grow to be a source of light to all those around her. May her radiance illuminate the world. May the light of Torah and mitzvot be reflected in her shining deeds. And may she help bring the light of joy and redemption to the world.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
There is a quiet light that shines in every heart. It draws no attention to itself, though it is always secretly there. It is what illuminates our minds to see beauty, our desire to seek possibility, and our hearts to love life. Without this subtle quickening, our days would be empty and wearisome, and no horizon would ever awaken our longing. Our passion for life is quietly sustained from somewhere in us that is wedded to the energy and excitement of life. This shy inner light is what enables us to recognize and receive our very presence here as blessing. John O'Donohue.
Our God and God of our ancestors, we join together now in thanking you for the gift of this precious child and the blessing of this sacred moment. We pray that Lucia's life will be one of health and happiness, full of love and learning. As Lucia now receives the Hebrew name of Leora bat Daniel Umaria, we hope that your presence will be with her always, guiding and supporting her through all stages of her life. As Lucia grows, may she embody the light and legacy of her name and inspire future generations by way of her spirit and character. May Lucia's parents, Maria and Dan, be blessed with great wisdom, patience, and a community of support as they navigate the sacred work of parenthood and illuminate some of life's many paths for their daughter as she journeys through life. Together we say, Amen. So now her parents are going to share a little bit about the Hebrew, English, and Spanish names they chose for their daughter.
Thank you. So the Spanish name Lucia comes from the word lux, that's right, which is Latin for light. In the middle of a pandemic and after a personal loss, we were filled with hope when we learned we were having a little girl. Leora, like Lucia, means light, or in some translations, God's gift of light. Being with Lucia, we feel we have indeed received God's greatest gift. We hope our baby grows up to be a woman whose kindness brings light to others and whose courage allows her to see and follow the light of her own heart.
Jewish tradition asks, what are the mitzvot, the duties, commandments that a parent must do for their child? Jewish tradition provides the following answer. As a parent, your duties go beyond feeding, bathing, and clothing your child. You are also to bring your child into the covenant, teach them Torah and a vocation, professional skills, life skills, social and intellectual skills. And above all else, your chief role as a parent is to help your child understand love when they are young, so that they will know how to be loving and loved all the days of their life.
How are we able to perform countless acts of love as we are commanded? How can we begin to obey such a difficult charge? It is not such a mystery, really. Every lullaby, every diaper change, every smile, every sleepless night, every wordless prayer of thanks for this perfect baby. In these and the unending ways we care for and teach and protect our children, we perform countless acts of love. And the world is made holier, and so are we.
For the beauty of a fall sunset and refreshing drops of rain, we are thankful.
For the gift of each new morning and the chance to try again, we are thankful.
For a child who smiles like sunshine and whose cuddles conquer pain, we are thankful.
For life's harmonies and discords, for life's comfort and its strain, we are thankful.
For this child who brings fresh feelings and new reasons for each day, we are thankful.
For her eyes that speak with meaning that mere words cannot convey, we are thankful.
For the hours and the minutes and the seconds of each day, we are thankful.
For friends' smiles and warming handshakes when they don't know what to say, we are thankful.
For the strength of love here present, may it never fade away. We are thankful for all of these things.
And we'll conclude our naming ceremony with the oldest blessing in Jewish tradition, the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly benediction. Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha. May God bless you, Lucia, and always keep you safe. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And may God bless you, Lucia, with the greatest gift of all, the gift of peace and wholeness. Amen. And we conclude with a song of celebration, Siman Tov U'Mazel Tov. Siman Tov U'Mazel Tov, U'Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov U'Mazel Tov, U'Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov U'Mazel Tov, U'Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Yehi Lanu. Israel, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Lecho Yisrael. Siman Tov, U'Mazel Tov, U'Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, U'Mazel Tov, U'Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, U'Mazel Tov, U'Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Yehelanu. All right, we're going to do a quick picture, since Lucia probably won't remember too much of this. Kathy, you want to document this? Everybody say Lucy. Lucy. Okay, one more. Let me hear one more. Okay, one more time. Lucy. Lucy. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Welcome. Congratulations. And we continue our service together in our Shabbat of Wonder prayer book on page 2. If you'll join me in English reading A Wonderful World. We live in a wonderful world that is full of beauty, charm, and adventure. There is no end to the adventures that we can have if only we seek them with our eyes open. We continue on page 3 with a poem about the sun. Have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way the sun, every evening, relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon and into the clouds or the hills or the rumpled sea and is gone? And how it slides again out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world like a red flower streaming upward on its heavenly oils, say on a morning in early summer, at its perfect imperial distance. And have you ever felt for anything such wild love? Do you think there is anywhere, in any language, a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you, as you stand there empty-handed? So at this point in our service, we think of the past week and the things that brought us gratitude. So if you have some good news to share, no matter how big or how small, I invite you to share that joy with the community now. Yeah, John?
My son started a new job this week.
Mazel tov on your son's new job. Awesome. Yeah.
I got caught up on all my assignments for my classes.
Yay. It's a great feeling to be caught up at work. Rare, right? And Bruce?
Well, to have family here for Thanksgiving,
Awesome. Mazel tov on the new dog. So we thank God for all these blessings, including the blessing of simply being alive for this moment in time with the words of Shehechianu near the bottom of page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. If you have reading 2 and would like to come up to the microphone.
A child's world is fresh and new and beautiful, full of wonder and excitement. If a child is to keep alive this inborn sense of wonder, she needs the companionship of at least one adult who can share it, rediscovering with her the joy, excitement, and mystery of the world we live in.
And we continue on page 8 with an abbreviated version of Lecha Dodi, Boi Kala, just the last line and the first 2 lines. Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala. Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala, Boi Kala. Lecha Dodi. Likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Boi kala, boi kala, boi kala, boi kala. Ikala, boi kala, boi kala, boi kala. Ikala. We continue near the top of page 9 with the Song of Grass. How wonderful it would be if we were worthy of hearing the song of the grass. Every blade of grass sings a pure song to God, expecting nothing in return. It is wonderful to hear its song and to worship God in its midst. If you have reading 3.
Sun says, be your own illumination. Wren says, sing your heart out all day long. Stream says, do not stop for any obstacle. Oak says, when the wind blows, bend easily and trust your roots to hold. Stars say, what you see is one small slice of a single modest galaxy. Remember that vastness cannot be grasped by mind. Ant says, small does not mean powerless. Silence says nothing. In the quiet, everything becomes clear. I say, limitless. I say, yes.
And we rise together for the official call to worship, the Baruch Hu, the middle of page 9. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai continue in the middle of page 11, suffused with glory. Shema Yisrael, hear the words of the mystics. There is nothing but God. No place and no person is empty of God. The whole earth is suffused with God's glory. Hear, O Israel, God's hands are our hands. God's work is our work. God's voice speaks through us. God is one when we are one. Continue with the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Please be seated. We continue on page 12. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol lavavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech u'shochbecha uvkumecha u'kshartam lehot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha Leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem. And we continue in the middle of page 13 with radical amazement, if you have reading 4.
Our goal should be to live life in radical amazement. Let us get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never treat life casually. To be spiritual is to be amazed.
And we continue with Micha Mocha. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot osei pele Nora tehilot osei pele. We continue in the middle of page 14 with Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל oti leolam, oti leolam, veshamru bnei Israel et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת בנפש, שבת בנפש, שבת בנפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. If the only prayer you say in your life is thank you, that would suffice. Please rise for our central prayer, the Amidah, on page 14. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, let my mouth me declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula lifnei bneihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol, Atah Rav le'hoshia. Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim. Samech noflim v'rofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechaye, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. And please be seated. We continue with a quiet moment for personal prayer or reflection. Page 16. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. And please join me in reading together in English with a prayer of gratitude at the bottom of the page. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of our soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these things and more, we offer thanks. At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who are in need of healing. Tonight, we think especially of Beth Levine, Rabbi Jerry Levy, Elaine Rigoni, and Jean Sanders. Are there other loved ones whose healing we wish to pray for tonight? With the power of community, we pray for their refuah shlema, their complete healing of body and or spirit, with the words of Misha Berach found at the bottom of page 18. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. So this week's Torah portion tells the saga of Joseph, the favorite son of Jacob, who started up on top of the world and then ended up becoming a slave and a prisoner in Egypt. And there's a midrash in a source called Genesis Rabbah 77:4, in case anyone wants to look it up, that frames these extreme ups and downs in Joseph's life as a test from God. And this midrash imagines Joseph thinking about his life in comparison to the lives of his father and grandfather. As a young man, Joseph had a rather charmed life. He was good-looking and given special status and lots of affection and attention from his parents, especially his father. And some of this attention went to his head. Joseph developed a bit of an ego as a teenager and would tell people about his dreams of them bowing down to him. And when Joseph started to think that he was entitled to a life without any struggles at all, the Midrash says this is when Joseph was first tested by God. So we read how Joseph's brothers were consumed with jealousy and threw him into a pit before selling him into slavery, as brothers sometimes do. And after that rapid descent, Joseph climbs back up. He gains access to power through his Egyptian boss named Potiphar, but his character is tested when he has power. His own boss's wife tries to seduce him, and the Midrash says this is one of the tests in Joseph's life. Most would say that he passed this test of character when he rebuffs her advances, but Joseph still ends up in jail even though he had done nothing wrong in this situation. So tonight I want to have a discussion related to this midrash. And the first question in our discussion, anyone can answer, there's no right or wrong responses is, have you ever felt that God was testing you? Or have you found it helpful to frame various struggles in your life in other ways? So. Okay, and I'm going to ask a volunteer to bring the microphone around so people watching the live stream can hear our answers too. Does anyone want to be the volunteer? You can get out of talking. No. You can get out of talking if you like, but I'd like to hear your answers, John.
Oh, I'm not so sure you would.
Joanne had her hand up.
So no, I don't think I've ever felt I was being tested by God. I feel we have free choice. We live our life, whatever happens, happens, and it's a result of our choices. So I don't feel I'm ever tested.
Has anyone here ever had that like idea pop into your head, whether it was like a Sunday school teacher or someone who planted that, like maybe God is testing me, like don't finish the Oreos or something? Yeah. Do you want to share anything about that?
I can't remember specifically, but I do feel like I've had that feeling before, like this must be a test. I do have anxiety, so it could be that too. But it's like that feeling, like what is the right answer in this situation? Like what is this trying to teach me, and how do I go about this to be like my best self that God wants me to be?
Mm-hmm. So excellent. So some people will see that in terms of God, right? Trying to bring out the best version of yourself, like showing that maybe there's something you struggled with in the past, but you've learned to do better at now, and giving you this opportunity to show that you've grown as a person. For some people, maybe God's not in the equation, but they still say like, what is this moment trying to teach me? What can I gain from it? John, did you want to?
Well, yeah, I know I've felt this way, and I'm sure everyone has. There have been moments, there's got to be moments, excuse me, when you just say, why me? That's a little bit like thinking something's testing you, or someone or something.
So kind of like Job, right? It's a book of the Tanakh, of the Hebrew Bible, that we don't often read. It's not linked to a holiday like the book of Esther is linked to Purim. But if you're like, man, my life is awful right now, and you want to read about someone who has a life that's worse than yours to cheer up a little bit, read the book of Job. He has everything, it all gets taken away, he builds it back, and then he's like, why? Why is there suffering in this world? So I think a lot of people have that question of like, why? Why is this happening? What can I learn from this experience? The second question is, would you rather have everything come easily to you, or do you think life is more meaningful with a few tests or struggles along the way?
I feel like in those moments where I'm struggling a lot, I'm like, okay, you know what? Challenges are good. They're like good for growth. And I'm like, that's what I want my life to be about, is just continuous growth. And so if everything were easy, then it'd just be stagnant and kind of boring.
Stan and Ron.
Yeah, I think people sometimes don't appreciate things if they come too easily. And the fact that they don't come easily adds to a sense of gratitude about that. I remember an uncle of mine saying that he bought his first car during the Depression, and he'd saved up and scrimped, and he said, now I can go out and buy a new car, and it doesn't have that same sense of satisfaction that I had when it was a real struggle to be able to buy some beat-up old jalopy. The comedian, the Russian comedian, I'm trying to think of his name. Anyway, he talked about what a big deal it was to get a Smirnoff, that's who it was. Anyway, what a big thing it was for him in Russia to get a new pair of shoes. And he said, he said, now if I need a new pair of shoes, I go to the store and I buy a new pair of shoes, and it's just an entirely different experience. And, this is like something. Having to struggle for things makes things special in a way that having things come too easy makes us take them for granted.
Mm-hmm. And Ron, do you want to add something to that?
Well, I pretty much agree with Stan. As long as the struggle isn't insurmountable, Mary Renaud, the novelist, used to say, one of her lines is, there's no romance without ordeal. And I think it's kind of the same thing between Shabbat and the rest of the week. Shabbat is sweet when you've worked hard all week and then get a break, or a project is very satisfying if you've worked long and hard on it and then get a vacation. So I think struggle is a good, a certain amount of struggle is a good thing that brings out the best of us.
Mm-hmm. To quote the philosopher Lady Gaga, right? If it's not rough, it isn't fun. So some struggle, right, some challenge can make things more interesting. Third question, our final question tonight, is how can we help the children in our families or wider communities to gain the strength, skills, and confidence they need in order to face life's challenges? And sort of related to this is, what support or preparation for life's challenges do you wish you had received in your youth?
As an elementary school teacher, something we tell our students all the time is, yes, this is a hard thing, but you can do hard things. And so just validating their struggle, but also building their confidence.
So that's a good balance, right? You don't want to dismiss that it's difficult. Any other thoughts on what support worked well for you as a child or that you wish you'd had and you hope to give to the next generation? Yeah, Ron?
I think intermittent reinforcement is the best thing, because you have to learn to do things for your own satisfaction, not to please someone else. So I think just getting praise intermittently is really the best way to encourage people.
Mm-hmm. And Joanne?
So these are the two truths I grew up with from my father. One, buy low, sell high. Two, life's not fair. So I learned how to appreciate the fact that things happen randomly or not. You're very lucky if something happens to you, and if it doesn't, that's to be expected too, and just go on. But yes, buy low, sell high, and life's not fair.
And sometimes it can be tricky when you're trying to figure out what message to give a child, right? So you want them to be prepared for the unfairness and randomness of life, right? But you also want to give them hope that there could be justice and some sort of fairness in this world. So figuring out that balance of, okay, this is not fair, how can we work to make it more fair? But also know that, you know, if someone gets cancer, right, that doesn't, some people used to say, like, oh, they must have done something, right? I bet they were a smoker to get lung cancer. Some people just get lung cancer and they never smoked in their life. So learning that balance of sometimes things have consequences, sometimes things are unfair and we can fix that, and sometimes things are unfair and there's not a lot we can do but offer the support that we can offer when something unfair happens to someone. Any kind of last thoughts to wrap up our conversation tonight? Do you like the midrash that Joseph was being tested? Does that help you understand his struggles in a different way, or is it just more fun to read it as a story with lots of drama? Yeah, Ron?
I should just stand by you.
Well, I think Joseph's story is an example of hubris is almost always followed by nemesis. He was a little too proud of himself, and he paid for the consequences.
Mm-hmm. So in the Torah, we can kind of read it for ourselves and make our own interpretation, but in the Talmud, they do talk a lot about sort of the Jewish karma, right? Midah k'neged midah, measure for measure. So Joseph kind of put himself up on this pedestal, and boy, was he knocked down, right? So he learned that you can't just, think you're superior to everyone else through his struggles. So was there an easier way to learn that lesson? perhaps, but he learned the hard way and he learned the lesson well, and we get to benefit from the story of his life that is left behind thousands of years later. So thank you, John, for giving everyone a voice and the ability to follow the conversation. We continue our service together on page 20 with Aleinu. Please rise for the Aleinu prayer. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gdula lielze breshit, shelo asanu kgoye haratot, velo samanu kamishbechot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegoralenu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Emar b'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who have passed away recently or at this time in years past. Tonight we remember with love Jeff Galston, longtime member of ORME, father of Cynthia and Ariel Galston, and the yahrzeits of Bertha Cohen, grandmother of Erica Napolitano, Judith Cohen, mother of Bruce Cohen, Sheila Silverstein Emanuel, the Silverstein family matriarch, Harold Schnitt, father of Sheila Schnitt, and Henrietta Schwartz, mother of Fran Seiden. Are there other loved ones we wish to remember tonight? Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be a blessing. We remain standing as a community of support for the Mourners Kaddish on page 21. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam alomei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei dekudesha brichu, le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort for all who are bereaved, and let us say, amen. Please be seated. And before we conclude with our closing song, I'd like to invite up Lori to share some brief announcements on behalf of the board.
Shabbat Shalom. If you hadn't noticed, the gift shop is open for the last time, so feel free to stop by the gift shop after services tonight. Everything is half price except for the candles, so feel free to stop by and stock up. Torah study will be tomorrow in person and virtually at 11 a.m. On Sunday, for those who are interested in working with the refugee family, there will be an orientation here at ORME from 1 to 3. Next Friday evening, there will be a Hanukkah service where people are invited to bring their menorahs, and we will light them by the window, as we haven't done in a while. And let's see what else. The ORME Religious School Hanukkah party is next Sunday, December 5th, and the ORME Book Club will be Monday, December 6th. They are reading Black Wave, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the 40-year rivalry that unraveled culture, religion, and collective memory in the Middle East. Woo, big topic. And I think that's it. Shabbat Shalom.
All right. Thank you, Lori. And we conclude our service tonight on page 22 with What a Wonderful World, for our Thanksgiving Shabbat of appreciation. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, a bright, blessed day, a dark, sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Thank you, Patricia, for playing tonight. And Shabbat Shalom. If you'd like to return your services to the table near the entrance and join us in the back for Kiddush and Motzi.